Okay, so we had a very interesting session while we spoke to all the panelists one by one. So everyone gave different perspective. There were a lot of insightful discussions that was done. But now there are a few things we plan to do this way only with your thought that on this occasion of the World Photography Day 2026 celebration. First we will have perspective from different angles, then we will try to make a collage of it and have a discussion on a common platform for the photojournalism as a genre. So we'll invite once again on the dais Shri Mukesh Parpiani ji. A big round of applause for him. Pillai sir and Chirodeep. So thank you each one of you for being here today with us, and thank you so much for giving so much of value addition to the VIBGYOR World Photography Day celebration 2026. So we'll quickly touch on few topics today. So the first topic that we are trying to have a word is, we are talking about the Unposed Truth today. We are trying to showcase more about the unfiltered part of photography. So in the age of this hyper-awareness, we want to have a word on that. So the question is, so the theme of this year's initiative is the Unposed Truth. So today, we live in a hyper-visual world where almost everyone is actually aware of the camera, the technology that makes it incredibly easy to stage, manipulate, or even digitally generate realities. So from your distinct vantage points, the newsroom, the long-term archive, the editor's desk, how has the pursuit of this unposed truth changed, and how does a modern photojournalist maintain their credibility today? So we may first start with Mukesh sir, as he can distinct about the raw instinct of capturing a fleeting news moment.
In this modern digital world, I feel we should emphasize and stick to the truth of the picture. We should not alter it, we should not manipulate it, and we should not digitalize and do the manipulation on social media or on the other platforms. Photojournalism is the ethics of photojournalism is to bring the truth in front of the readers, and as you see it, please portray the story of your picture. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think as far as young photographers are concerned, it is very important to keep shooting around. Which is one thing that I think a lot of photographers eventually miss out on. Because it's very easy to get swayed by consuming the photography, but not enough of shooting is really going on. It's not happening as far as it should be happening. And when it does happen, it is glazed over. There are because they are so influenced by what you have seen, that especially in social media, that what you shoot eventually becomes a sort of a copy of what is available out there. So I think that that awareness needs to be there. And the study of older masters, I think, is critical.
Just getting the question.
I'll tell you one thing. So the point is, now with the advancement of this technology and all, so how would you love to advise about keeping the truth alive, and how photographers ethics will take place?
I think one of the problems today is that the practitioner is not only the professional photographer, right? So the images that are being consumed are being produced by lots of people. Think of the recent thing that happened in Delhi, right? What were the images that we were seeing? The images that we were seeing were being produced by people.
Yes.
So, and I think we are in this kind of, terrible times where we don't, our first instinct is to not trust the image, right? Because I mean, I look at something and I post it, and I'm kind of, at the back of my mind, I'm always saying, कोई तो एक लिख के बोलेगा कि this is an AI image, and it happens because you get conned so much. I'm saying that's the reality of it. I mean, but I guess at the end of the day, it really comes down to the honesty of the photographer himself. What is he trying to tell the world? If just because everybody goes and covers the Kumbh Mela, the Pushkar Mela, whatever, Chhau dance, so is that the reason you're going and shooting it? Then I think, I don't think that we are trying to find a deeper truth. You know what I'm saying? A deeper truth is within you. You have to kind of find it. You can't be following trends and then hope to kind of find, deeper truths and, all that. So I think at the core of it is that I think photographers should be a little more introspective. Like, Madhavan said, I think a historical perspective is kind of very crucial. And this is not just photography. I think it applies to all aspects of life. To kind of have a sense of where we have come from.
Right.
Otherwise, again, like I'm saying, it's very easy in this age of whataboutery to, when you keep thinking like you are the first person to have done it, but obviously you are not. So.
Okay.
I add one thing.
Yeah, sir.
After Chirodeep sir's remark, these days, lot of photographer goes on a forest wildlife safaris, and where everything is arranged for them in a jeep.
Absolutely. Right, absolutely.
Even the shot of getting 5 tigers together is not an issue. So that is not the truth a photojournalist would like to portray. I have seen the work of Suleiman Patel. He shot the Gir forest for 6 months and then did the exhibition with real pictures.
No,
Sorry, one other thing.
Yes.
I think this becomes an important thing because, we have been talking of photojournalism from the beginning, right? I think we have to realize, I think Mukesh touched upon it very briefly in one of his answers. The point is, I think we have to realize that am I pursuing journalism or am I just producing images under the garb of journalism?
Right.
Okay? So, for instance, if you are going to do photojournalism, one of the biggest stories that happened in the city in the last week was at Shivaji Park. How many of you all were there? Why wasn't anybody there shooting? So, and this is what I'm saying, that today the onus of producing the image is not necessarily of the professional photojournalist. It's also the citizen journalist, it's all kinds of things. So, when we talk of democratization of the medium, this is what has happened. It obviously comes with its flaws, okay, which is where you can recontextualize an image, where you can show an image that is originally from, let's say from Bangladesh and kind of peddle it during the West Bengal election and say, hey, look what is happening. So I'm saying that's not truth either. So the image may be true, but the context is changing. So I think there are lots of things that we have to be kind of thinking about. So the point is, in fact, for instance, say, just because, say, you have gone and, okay, let's use Chhau. Just because it was this lovely project that all of you guys did. Is the way that you would shoot Chhau be different from the way that a journalistic endeavor of shooting Chhau would be? I'm saying it's not about just the image, right? It's about the broader ideas of what are we trying to do. So I'm saying, just by erecting a goalpost and saying, is this photojournalism? I don't think that works. Right? At your heart, I think people like Mukesh, me, I think we have been journalists first and photographers second. You know, I don't think we are like just peddlers of images. This is what I'm trying to say. We have been journalists in the first. You know, so I think that's the very crucial difference as far as that goes.
Right. As you know, also told the citizen journalist, and also that brings me the second theme of the discussion is the smartphone. So the smartphone and shifting role of the professionals. So previously we had a mental or maybe a setback taboo that okay, he is a photojournalist with a camera on the street or on a mission. So here now is like if there is any incident happening across. So we had a very serious incident happening across the train I think a month back. So there the clip which was actually going across all the news channels was not shot by a photojournalist. It was shot by one of the commuter. So on that note, my second question is, so in the past the photojournalist's primary job was often to be the first person to show the public what happened. Today, breaking news is almost always captured instantly by a bystander, in his smartphone or in a smartphone. So since the professional is no longer guaranteed to be the first on the scene, how must the role of the photojournalist evolve? Is the future of this medium less about breaking news and more about deep context? So I'll start with Chirodeep and we'll go this way.
I think, yeah, it certainly is no longer about breaking news, right? I mean, you know, Mukesh will tell you how in the early days we would get information. Okay, like a simple thing, Mukesh would probably have more insights. But for instance, like say, you know, I'm getting out of the house, सुबह को मैं एक बार पुलिस कंट्रोल रूम, फायर ब्रिगेड कंट्रोल रूम में फोन करके सब ठीक है ना, शहर में ठीक है, they knew our voice and they would say हाँ ठीक है. You know, और monsoon time में टेलर हाँ उधर बिल्डिंग गिर गया, इधर ये हो गया, उधर वो हो गया. All that we would be informed. Today, obviously, that has become redundant because अगर मेरे घर के सामने अगर you know बारिश में अगर वो road has got washed away, by the time I land up, I mean there are people around who have already shot and who have already uploaded it on Twitter and Facebook and all that, right? So obviously I think the function has changed. I mean technology has ensured that the function changes. Okay. So I think for the photojournalists, more and more for the photojournalists, I think for media organizations, because I think to kind of put the onus of the photographer seems to me a little absurd. I think the onus, I think media organizations need to start thinking, how do they kind of see news? Are they kind of see news as something to be like constantly hyperventilating over, you know, as breaking news, or is it something that is more reflective and, you know, this is the important thing, because if that position is kind of clear, then you can say, okay, what's the job of the reporter, what's the job of the photographer? Photographer can do nothing on his own. He can go and do his personal projects like I did for 30 years, go and do our. He can do nothing else if he is employed. He is a cog. He is just another cog in the wheel. That's all. So the point is the media organizations having to figure what is our role in terms of, you know, news gathering, in terms of you know, spreading information and stuff like that, you know, because in this constant fight for, you know, trying to be the first, you're peddling lies, you're peddling, doing all kinds of things. So the photographer is part of that surplus.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I think it's for media organizations to kind of reflect on this thing, really.
Sir,
Thinking of what Chirodeep said, There are two important points that come to mind. One is the media organization itself, which is basically from that perspective from the perspective of curation. What it chooses to show and what it chooses to ignore. I think that right now Twitter is actually a news page, and Instagram is also a news page. So a news organization or a media organization is fighting against Twitter and Instagram. Do you really have to fight against Twitter and Instagram? Is one question that needs to be asked. Can there be something a little bit more in-depth? Can there be something a little bit more curated? That is one question. Second question is from the perspective of an editor. There is a way to record the news. You can just simply put a camera in front of the whole thing and just record, like as though there's a CCTV camera standing there. That is also doing the recording. You just hold a phone over there and just make a recording. That's also a recording. You just basically record for the heck of it, for the sake of it. And then there is a certain craft of it, so which comes through, which is very visible, and that craft of it becomes the more critical factor in these times. Okay, so if what is being captured has been captured with a certain kind of a eloquence, that makes a bigger difference today. Okay, then so it can be one day late, but if there's something extra that has been captured, it's no longer just a recording of a situation. It's not just a record. Okay,
point of view, right?
Yeah.
Point of view, exactly.
What's the stand that
Exactly. So photojournalism itself is being bearing witness. You are bearing witness, but it's not just looking at what is happening. It's also seeing a perspective. It is about seeing something.
See, many times the photographer shoots the exclusive events, and by the time he reaches to the office and makes the prints and gives it to the news desk, the concerned reporter also needs my story, what I saw, and then he writes the comprehensive story with the reports from the authorities or XYZ, and then go to the press. But these days things are moving very fast. Everything available is on your mobile. Just pick up and do it, edit it and do it and send it. That's not where you should, if you are not able to reach the news point wherever the blast XYZ has taken place, you must have a first-hand report from the photojournalist. He will tell you good true story.
Right.
His pictures also tells you the story. I am thankful that in the 80s I shot Mumbai streets. In 90s I got the opportunity to shoot national politics and the state politics. In 2000 onwards, I shot celebrities. All three organizations were supporting me. The Daily, Indian Express and Midday. We did the brilliant scoops, excellent stories, excellent photo scoops with the photo team provided to me. Which should, I think those days should come back again. Let's pray for those days.
Sorry, just one. The other thing also is what we tend to miss out is, you see, there's this whole thing about, the moment, say, a photograph appears of, let's say, a bomb blast that happened, and you find a picture of, say, a victim sitting there with blood streaming downward. And then there's this whole thing happens about, this is, so in such poor taste, blah, 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 all that is happening. These now are largely pictures which are, like I'm saying, being done by the ordinary people. It's not being done by the media as it gets painted in this broad brush. Everything is media, right? Which is a stupid term. But the point I'm trying to make is, in any good media organization, you had hierarchies. The hierarchy, the way it worked, the hierarchy was meant to be checks and balances. So for instance, say I am a junior photographer and I say suddenly have come and let's say this episode that Indranil was talking about, that stabbing in the train. Let's say I was in the train and I have done this picture, like really powerful stuff but ghastly as hell. I have come to the office, Mukesh is sitting there. Let's say I'm like one new kid on the block. I'm thinking my career is now going to take off. What pictures I've got now. Mukesh, who's seen the world, is telling me, Chirodeep, thoda bed jao, thande devaate, pani piyo, chai piyo. Let's look at the pictures. Mukesh is probably saying, nice pictures, but, you know, in poor taste, or whatever. But he says, no, it's still kind of powerful work because the boy was courageous. You know, where everybody ran away, wo sala khada hoke usne shoot kiya. It should be shown, but let's see out of the 30 frames that he shot, kaun sa which is less repellent, which is less, you know, all that. He takes it to the city editor. City editor and he have a discussion and they probably say मैंने ये निकालो, ठीक है लेना है तो उसको छोटा लेते हैं, ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं. Mukesh will also say, no, I think my boy did a good job, but he'll be very gutted अगर नहीं. It then goes to the editor, and the editor finally probably vetoes the whole thing, and he says, no, I think we are doing a story on how unsafe Bombay's public spaces are becoming. We are doing a story on how, everybody is on edge because of how everything around us is collapsing. He's given it an angle by which he is able to perhaps justify the use of that picture. You understand what I'm saying? So this is now suddenly not just about me, the photographer who's shot a picture. So if media organizations do not have these hierarchies, which me as the citizen journalist who's, रास्ते में accident हो गया and I'm taking pictures, करके Twitter पे डाल दिया, there are no checks and balances. So the thing is, this becomes a very, very important thing. Why we need media organizations to be able to curate what is seen. This is not to say that no one else should shoot. Yes. They can shoot. But I'm saying we have a certain specific utility in society, which is not to be irresponsible. That's the point.
Whenever a ghastly picture is published, next day some guy from the marketing or advertising or circulation comes up and makes noise. In morning, nobody wants to see such picture over a cup of tea at home. But this doesn't happen every time. If bomb blast has happened, and if I don't show a lady running with a blood, then I'm not a photojournalist.
Absolutely.
I just want to say that so there are two aspects to it. This dance of things, what is happening on social media, what is there happening in the public, and then what is the media organization doing about it, how are they responding to it. It has been going on forever, and it will continue going on. And in that process, there is always, something that is going to change. In the sense that already you are seeing that, so if you are supposed to follow, if you are going to be following a news organization, would you rather follow an India Today or some random Twitter guy who has actually posted a picture? Okay, first person to post a picture. Whereas India Today might actually do a kind of a social commentary on the situation. Okay, what has happened? What is the real reality of the situation? There might be something extra on that. So it is already happening. If you look at all of the media that is available today, it is already going on. It is already happening. So in this kind of environment, I think it is inevitable that the photographer who is able to do a job with a perspective, with a certain kind of finesse, actually automatically gets the advantage.
Exactly. So that is exactly aligning with my third theme, which is the challenge of empathy and access. The challenge of empathy and access. So the question is whether you are shooting a political rally in the quiet corners of an ancestral village, or evaluating a photo essay for a magazine, the word empathy always surfaces. So, however, public spaces are more regulated today, the people are more guarded about their privacy. What is your approach to navigate this boundary? How do you earn the right, the access to photograph someone's reality without being intrusive?
Do you want to?
Well, I think the empathy thing, I don't think it is concerning only photography. I think we as society need to kind of think about empathy. I think there is a huge empathy deficit in society today. Okay? And I think that reflects in various aspects of our life. Photography is one of them. About the other thing of how do we ensure that we are not being obnoxious and invasive and all that. I think when I give you an example, I remember, I've been doing this project many years back called The Commuters, where I was doing pictures of people sitting in front of me in the train. And every time I would do a lecture, the standard, I would just wait for that question to be asked. But didn't you ever think that you were invading somebody's privacy? Valid question. Okay? My point is this. What were you doing? Okay, like say suppose he's sitting like that with his hand on his chin looking out of the window. मैंने उनका एक photo लिया because the light was very nice or in a reasonable world, in a rational world, which is largely what we are not today, this man will probably like blow his head and he's like, "Kya tum mera photo lete ho? Why is it in the public domain?" I'm saying, he's just sitting, looking out of the window. If I have done a picture of him digging his nose or scratching his crotch, then you can say, "Oh, why have you done a picture like that?" Right? That's one. Second is, in a country, this whole thing of invading privacy seems to me invariably like a very elitist kind of concept. I'll tell you what I mean. In a country like India, if you step out of your house, there are enough things for you to be offended by. People are dying on the street, they're shitting on the street because they don't have toilets, there are all kinds of things. People don't have access to education, water, it's filthy, none of that offends us. But मेरे सामने कोई बैठा है, किताब पढ़ रहा है, मैंने उसका फोटो ले लिया, तो आपको भी you're taking offense. So I think it's a ridiculous thing that in photography how we have started taking offense today. The only change that has happened from like say 30 years back or 40 years back, photographers were still shooting on the street, they are still shooting on the street. The only difference that has happened is actually social media. Okay, that's the only change. So beyond that, the idea that a photograph could be shared, now you're putting it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. पहले वो photo शायद एक newspaper में आता. And when a picture came in a newspaper, usually people felt very good about it. Okay, कि आप चौपाटी पे बैठ के चने खा रहे हो और मुकेश ने आपका फोटो ले लिया, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस के सेकंड पेज पे आ गया. He is probably showing it around in his colony. देखो इंडियन एक्सप्रेस पे मेरा फोटो आ. Today, there will be some joker who will take offense to you. And I'm saying, I don't understand what is the problem. Sure, it could be that you don't like your photo. So I get that. But I don't think it can be used as a broader argument. Oh, you can't take pictures of people, you're invading privacy. The CCTVs, they're all perennially invading your privacy. So,
I think there are a couple of different points here. One is that if you go to some other countries, like you go to Singapore, for example, or Japan, you really can't shoot people without their permission. It's very logically enforced. Especially it's cultural thing. Not just that. If you have to publish a photo, okay, you need something like model release. You need a signed consent. Otherwise, nobody will publish that photo. You know, so our country is great. Okay. We don't have any of those kind of issues or problems. You know, that's one thing I would say, that, you know, it's not something that is, in fact, I've seen situations where if you're standing and shooting in a public spot, okay, and if somebody tries to stop you, even if an official tries to stop you, you can tell an official, sorry, I'm shooting in a public spot, you should not have a problem with this. That is one thing. The second thing is that, you know, and this is something that I've experimented with almost constantly during workshops or during shooting myself on the street. As long as you are honest with your intention, okay, people will not have an issue. At the most, 90% of the time, when somebody asks you what are you doing, it's purely out of curiosity. I've had policemen asking me, which lens is this, what are you shooting, why are you shooting this? I've had somebody tell me, please don't shoot the pigeons. I mean, that's a very weird one, you know. They didn't want me to shoot the pigeons because of radiation of the camera will kill the pigeons. So he was doing it. He was doing digital cameras emit radiation. You know, so he had a very big concern. He came in a car and he stopped me. He tried to, you know, tell me, educate me. So the concern was for the pigeon, you know, and so it extends up to that point. It doesn't. It rarely goes up to a situation where it gets into a confrontation, you know. And even if it does, you know, you need to learn how to diffuse that situation.
Absolutely.
Very calmly and, you know, very politely.
Yeah.
And if somebody says, don't take my picture, don't just don't take. But I think India is a beautiful country. You go to any place, any thing as a tourist also and make pictures, nobody's going to stop you. There's no issue.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. I don't have a problem with somebody telling me, look, I don't want to be photographed. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But don't make it as a blanket
Yes.
rule and make
Yes.
it nonsense like, oh, you know, invading privacy and, you know, overstepping. You know. I mean, you should be offended. Just get out of the
I mean, there are situations, not like as photographers don't face situations while shooting and somebody comes and stops you and says, I have shooting,
All the
and this guy stays here and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, taking your stride, you go on.
Yeah.
Just have to-
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sir.
I took it as a professional hazard. I come across, and it is not that I have not come up multiple times, every now and then. Even these days, I am not driving two-wheeler much, but if I am going by cab and I see on a one bike 4 people traveling, I shoot it and put it, it's shot by mobile. So it goes on social media immediately. So they shout at me also. But I said, okay, ठीक है, चलो. चलता है. In a way, इंडिया में US का पॉलिसी नहीं है, सिंगापुर हांगकांग का पॉलिसी नहीं है, कंट्रीज का रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन नहीं है, तो अच्छा है. आप मेरे को बताइए कि बॉम्बे में जब टेरर अटैक हुआ, हाँ जी, तो फॉरेन एजेंसीज ने क्या फोटोज ज्यादा मांगे, किसी को मालूम है? No. Show and show more dead bodies lying around in the places.
My goodness.
This lobby, that lobby, everywhere. Show Western countries correspondent were told to show up. And tell me, when the terror attack in the US happened, where did we see the...
Not a single body.
Did we see anything? So India is the India, okay? And India will remain India.
There were
One-
Indian photographers who were following agency requests from abroad.
Yes.
In this, I would like to add one thing. In our VIBGYOR group, we had a photograph. Somebody had put it on. It was a photograph of Varanasi's Harishchandra Ghat. And that photograph was such that prey was being lit. It was already on fire. The feet were out of the thing. And in the background, the family was standing. That created a huge debate in the group whether this photo should be clicked or not clicked. Even at that time, even we were confused whether this is ethically it is right or wrong.
You know, in Varanasi, there are doubts. You want to shoot inside?
No, I mean, doubt to it, but there is also a guy who's a photographer whose job is to actually shoot pictures of dead bodies.
Recorded. He's supposed to
So like
record.
I've seen this in Calcutta, at this crematorium called Kaurata. There are photographers whose job is to take pictures, and then you realize you start talking to them. For most people, we have to also understand that there was a time when getting photographed was not a very common practice. So you got photographed only if you were really privileged, and if you were very privileged, तो फिर आपका जन्मदिन पे और शादी पे दोनों बार शूट होता था. बाकी लोगों का वो भी नहीं होता. किसी का शादी पे एक फोटो, अगर गांव में if you were getting married, you would have a picture where you see, the man and the woman standing like that, looking like deer in a headlight, that kind of thing. The only other time that they would get photographed, let's assume that they have never been photographed, is कि गांव से शहर आए, hospital में, and you have died. When your body is there, you would request this photographer, who obviously would come depending on, there's no time, right? वो रात को हो, जब भी हो, सुबह को 3 बजे हो, बारिश में हो, जब भी हो, he would come. He showed me picture, the body is lying there, and the family stands around him, and it's this very somber thing, and they get photographed. Till some years back, and this I'm saying about 15 years back, when I first met him, he said, till 2 or 3 years back, he first mistook me for a guy who was trying to sell him digital cameras. But then he was telling me, till some years back, they would, you see in the older movies how those phosphorus flashes, they were still using that, and they were using those cameras with kala kapda laga ke. Sorry, they were using those cameras with that kala kapda laga ke, and the body is there, the family is there, and it's night, it's raining, and with a measuring tape, they would measure the distance. Exactly. This is about 17, 18 years back. Those guys were still doing that. So the thing is, sometimes we wonder, this whole ethics, that's why I'm saying, we have to understand that India exists in very multiple realities. यहाँ पे people are doing this by choice. Whereas, we are doing it as intellectual pursuit.
Can I just, I had once asked Steve McCarthy this question. Okay, how do you know when to shoot? Like, for example, you're standing there, and he has been, before he turned into a documentary photographer, he was a concept photographer. So how do you know when to shoot people? Especially when they are in the morning. He has got a couple of very fine photographs of people in the morning. So his answer is very simple. You should know when to shoot when the person is in the morning and when to just keep the camera down. Okay, so there are always 3 people in a photograph, right? There is you as the photographer, there is the subject, okay, and then there is the viewer. Okay, so all 3 of you need to be in some sort of consent. Okay, when you make the picture, you should know when that consent. So it's also about the sensitivity that you have towards the subject when you make photographic times. Okay, photographing a dead body is perfectly fine. Photographing people in mourning over a dead body is also fine. The question is how you do it.
Yeah. Where to present it.
And not only where to present it, but how you do it. How it is photographed. So are you being respectful as a photographer, and is the photograph respectful? You can shoot a person crying, and that can be very respectful too. You don't have to make a photograph where the person's face is ugly and the person is in very bad shape. The person is there's vomit on the floor or something. You don't have to do all that. Yeah. There is a way to shoot it. It's about how sensitive the photographer is and how sensitive you are to the situation on it. Also, the one thing I just want to add, many publications also have a certain kind of responsibility to the, to the viewer, to the reader. Okay, for example, we have a standard rule in photography. If a 12-year-old cannot be given the magazine read, that is not an image that we will use. Okay, so our test is the 12-year-old. Will a parent be able to give this magazine to a 12-year-old child? It is not meant for that child, but can the parent give it? That is the test. Okay, we've had nudes in the magazine, we've had pictures that are very, but again, the question is, will a parent be comfortable giving it? What does it show? Is it showing eroticism in some way, or is it showing some kind of thing which is very, very ugly in some way? Okay, these are very, very important considerations. The World Press Photo Awards, okay, they are very critical about images and how they are shot and what it is showing. That's how they give their awards in international stage. And sometimes these are very gruesome pictures. At the same time, they will not hurt somebody. So, I mean, that's I think that should answer your question.
I think yes, you were.
So so similar like you were talking of Steve McCarthy, there's a very famous documentary, on James Napway, what's it called, the war photographer, and he shot some of the most ghastly situations that people have been through in history. But he says something very interesting. I mean, he says, very often when you are in a situation like this, the person or the people you are their only hope, to get word out to the world about what has befallen them. So they are also kind of, in a way, if your neighbor dies, you're not going to go and start shooting pictures. But when say if you're in Palestine and you're kind of seeing like a bomb has fallen, that's different from your neighbor dying. So there is a reason, the intent kind of changes. And when you have been offered that access, what do? Do you start behaving obnoxiously, or do you kind of be respectful like this? That's at the core of it. That's what it is.
Well, I think that's very, very interesting. Now, before we conclude the session, I want to quickly share the last final selected images of echoes and realities, which I think will align with all the discussions that we had till now. So the first category we had was daily life and street chronicles. So the final selected images were 6. We had total, if I'm not wrong, close to around 68 images in this folder. So this first image is by this is Anindya Pani. This is Enamul Kabir, Tushar, Ayana Vasil, Ketan Talati, and Shirshenu Gayan. And out of these images, this is the image which has bagged the first prize. So there was a lot and lot of discussion. There's a lot of discussion, but I just want anyone to just quickly brief about what made this more interesting to bag the first prize. Then I'll quickly show you two runner-up as well from these 6 images. So anyone can just.
I think it's such an unusual perspective. In fact, when the picture came on the screen, I could hear some discussion going on, right? And,
I got goosebumps.
Yeah, it was such a
No, but from an analytic point of view, what was very interesting was also not just the main character, but the other characters and their activities, the way it has been framed, and so overall, that's I think why all the 3 judges had a very common decision and very rigid decision that this is going to be something. The first one.
Almost surreal, so everything is normal going on there, and then there's this one kid, who's
So the first runner-up was this image, Shishyan Guy.
1 second.
Yes.
If this was happening in Bombay, PMC will read the premises why they are not wearing the helmet.
So the first runner-up is Shishyan Guy, and the second runner-up is Tushar. So that was from the Daily Life and Street Chronicles. The next one was Cultural Chronicles. So I'll start with, So this is by Amit Chakraborty. Ayan Washim, once again. Rajesh Dhar. Shivani. And this one was Nafis Khan. So this was the image that actually got into a lot of discussion while we were doing the busy. So in India, this having a tea is also a culture. But the point as a photographer, our mindset is so set back that we always understand culture means maybe something which is with the people on something like Durga Puja, Kali Puja, or any kind of a ritual. But what all the judges had a common understanding is that this one photographer has thought out of the box. She has portrayed something, a culture which is more predominant across India, as the culture of having tea together. So that's the reason why this has bagged the first prize, and the two runner-up was Rajesh Dhar, and this one is Ayan Washim. So that is for our Cultural Chronicles. The third one was Environment and Urban Shift. We had a very less number of images in this category, but there were very distinct prizes. This one is on in the funny, and I would love to add some discussion on this as well. So this image, as Sir already knows, this image has bagged some prizes of photography before as well, and he has rightly pointed out. But there was also some discussion that why can't this image be shifted to some other category like the human element or daily chronicles. And since the judges told that why don't you ask the photographer, so that's the charm of these people. So I don't think any of the other judges will take so much of pain that will ask the photographer whether he has mistakenly put it in this category, whether he still can you give the chance that he can put it in another category, because this is. So then I called up the photographer rather than dropping a mail that just wanted to have a clear idea that why did you put this one in this environment and urban shift. He gave a very good explanation. He told that, sir, this image is clip where the bride and groom usually goes to the village to get married in their ancestral houses, and then they come back to the city. And while they are coming back to the city, this is the jetty, and the jetty is of this way. So my way of portraying of this urban shift is that they are starting a new life with the risk factor, not only after getting married, like the entire, they're starting a life with this much of risk. So I wanted to portray that when this is the only way where they can come back from their ancestral village, why can't this be rectified? So that is why I want to put this. So after this explanation, when I shared that in the group, and then all of them were like, no, then the photographer is very sure shot that why this is in this category, we should not change. So I think that should be the, as Chirodeep was saying, the motive should be very clear. Just because the judge has told, sir, I'll change for it, he didn't do that. So that was very alarming, and everyone loved that one. This one is by Amit Chakraborty. Once again, Amit Chakraborty. And once again, Amit Chakraborty. So now this one is by Orgo. This is by Dhaval. And the last image is by Rajesh. And out here, the first prize goes to Orgo. Now this is no doubt this image was very clear that this image should go for the first prize because of the not just the perspective but the strong image. I think Madhav sir, you were very excited seeing this image. You should explain that why
Urban shift, environment and urban shift, I mean, this tells the entire story, you know, about, so that dog is literally mocking us, right? You do whatever you want to the environment, I'll be here. It's like he's smiling at the camera. And then there's the same life.
Same life.
Yes.
Thing there.
Yes.
Okay, there's some Carlsberg beer over there, full of garbage, and building in the background. There's a, it's a wonderful story that is happening here. You know, it's a very powerful telling of what we are doing to our own world.
Right.
So that is why this.
So that was undoubtedly that got the first prize, and the runner-ups.
Not only that, I think the technical, I mean, shot at night, not an easy thing to shoot from that angle. So the photographer has seen it in this particular way, which is coming.
So the first runner-up is Dhaval, and the second runner-up is Amit Chakravarti for this image. We'll go for the fourth category, that was human element, human interest. So this image is by Amit Vakil, Anjan Ghosh, Arnav, Karunakaran, Rajesh Dhar, and Arnav Sahu. The first is this image by Anjan Ghosh. Maybe you can just share your views or maybe Mukesh sir.
I think that so we selected this because of the nature of the portrait itself. I mean, the very powerful idea of the face and its humanness. So it's basically an excellent portrait that has something which you see the vocation, you see the occupation of the person here. So it's a very good portrait.
Right. And the first runner-up, Arnav, and the second runner-up by Arnav Sahu. So both are different runner-up, not the same person. So that was echoes and realities, and on this context, sir, I would love to conclude the session that we were having. So we wanted to have a fair understanding now. We got a lot of insights from you and everything. So before we pass on this message to all, I would love to ask that to wrap our session, from each one of you, I need a brief final thought, looking out at the young photographers submitting their work to the Echoes and Realities contest today. If there is just one daily habit or maybe a discipline you want them to adopt to become a better visual storyteller, what it would be in one line? One line or one sentence or maybe.
There's one daily habit.
One daily habit.
I mean, if photojournalism is what you want to pursue, I think reading a newspaper in whatever form, in a physical form or online or whatever, I think is a very good habit to have. I don't think you can, just say, I get my news on Facebook or I don't think that helps. So I'm saying it has to be like to be abreast with news. Okay, and news doesn't mean just breaking news, but what's happening in the world. So I think to have a reading habit, to kind of read newspapers, magazines is I think something that I would advise.
So my advice is going to be that a photographer needs to do two things. It's not just one.
Okay.
One is to focus on, apart from breaking news, also focus on long form stories, the photo essay, and to spend some time thinking about it. Just like what Chirodeep said about he took 13 years to build a story. So to focus on a long form story apart from news, I think that is very essential, and I think the best photojournalists today are doing that. They're focusing on both.
The second thing is to have a daily habit of looking at least one, if not one photographer, but at least the works of a photographer who has been very, very successful. And on a daily basis, even if it is those 5 or 6 pictures, to appreciate how the photographer has done it, what is the story behind it, understand the craft that the photographer has gone through to get that particular photo. That self-education is a very, very critical thing.
Sir.
In my heydays, I used to buy at least 10 newspapers in the morning. The newspaper guy used to come first for me and VIBGYOR. And I used to finish by 7 o'clock and out from home by 8 o'clock on the morning rounds, where I will shoot the streets or wherever the area which I go. Not in same direction every day, but this day I still shoot during my morning walk of 45 minutes. Whatever I get, I shoot, but may not be useful. But I still shoot and I delete it. Doesn't cost me much. But I have still habit of shooting the picture.
That's very interesting. So that is really very engaging session. I would request all the panelists to please I don't know how to express my feelings right now, because I'm feeling very, very happy that this session happened with all the we had months of discussion on how to figure it out, framework and all. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I would love to have a small discussion for all of you. So, but before we conclude, a big round of applause for Sigma for putting us in this session. Also, we have Kolkata friends who has come all the way from Chaudhuri for the refreshments. So thank you so much everyone. I will first thank you, Mukesh sir.
Promoting photojournalism and keeping it alive.
Sir. आप एक फोटो ले लीजिए. I think
Sir, ले लो ना.
सुमिता you can take. उनको देख के ले लो. But sir, please ये तो मुझे एक मिनट फोटो लेते हैं. सर एक बार. Next we have Krishna Madhavan sir.
Today also the same.
No, sir. Sir, I don't know. They are still not even imagining the way I have troubled all three of you for the last few months. I know how much I have done. So, sir, please, from all the VIBGYOR members on behalf of them.
I can't see the photo wearing this, but he's not.
No, that's why. Sir, please. Maybe sir, you can only keep. I think वो अच्छा रहेगा. Please.
Thank you.
Please. Chirodeep sir. Thank you so much.
Next time I am coming with you to your village.
I'll also request Satish to please come forward. Acha, before that, एक सर का बुक दीजिए. All the winners. So what we have for the winners, certificates तो रह गए, सबका sign किया हुआ. We are giving Mukesh sir's book personally signed. So whoever has won, his name and with message sir has signed. So this book will go to all the winners. I think this is a great achievement. Satish. here from Sigma. Thank you so much. And Rupali, can you also join? We'll take a quick group image. You just said?
यहाँ बीच में आ जाइए आप।
हाँ हाँ।
आप तो बीच में आइए।
So it's a big valuable engineering, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're taking all the effort to do all this.
And also, I think everyone can also join. I'll take a group shot for all. Please, ma'am.
Without you, how can I?
No, no, I'll